So today we are talking about finding the area and the perimeter of a sector. So I'm sure you're asking, what in the world is a sector? So let's talk about what it is according to dictionary.com. A sector is a plane figure bounded by two radii and the included arc of a circle. So I can hear you now. Say what? So let's make it easy. A sector is this shaded area in red within the circle. And when they say it's the bounded area, that's including the area of the radii, and it's that region inside that area shaded in red. So as we start looking at this, I want to give you a heads up. There's two ways that we can write our final answers as we go through this. One is to give our answer in terms of pi. So that might look something like 10 times pi. Occasionally we might also go ahead and calculate and go ahead and go 10 times pi, which would be 31.4. And these would be area measurements. If we're working with perimeter, it's going to actually look like 10 pi plus some answer, and I'm going to make up 6 for the time being. Or you could go ahead and get 31.4 plus 6 and simplify that to 37.4. So you might ask why we do this. Depending on the calculator, depending on the situation, if I don't have a calculator, leaving our answer in terms of pi can be a little bit easier to do, and we don't have to go as far. If we have calculators, going to step 2 is a little bit easier, or certainly doable. For the sake of Study Island, I want to talk about number 1, and we'll show answers in that regard, because that's how we'll see them tomorrow when you do your Study Island assignment. So on this side, we're using a formula to try and find the area of a sector. So we're going to modify the area of a circle. The area of a circle is area equals pi times r to the second. And as you can see, we're using that here, but we also have to find the fraction of the circle that we're using. In this case, they're saying it's 90 degrees. So what we can do is go 90 degrees over the degrees of an entire circle would be 360. So if we simplify that, we can go to 9/36, which is the same as 1/4. And so then we're just taking the 1/4 and putting it in front of the formula we already know for area, pi times r squared. So knowing that, we're going to go ahead and use the radius, which is 6 feet, and we're going to go ahead and plug in what we know into the formula. And we're going to go 1/4 times pi times r to the second, and r is 6 to the second. That will give us 1/4 pi times 36. At this point, I need to go ahead and find 1/4 of 36, which is just 1/4 times 36, or 36/4. If we divide that, we end up with 9 pi as our final answer. And we're going to go ahead and practice leaving our answer as 9 pi as we work on this. So here what we're trying to do is find the perimeter of the sector, and that's going to be this region, if I go into blue, that's covered by one radius, a second radius, and then this arc on the outer edge. So hopefully we're able to see that as it's played in class. So what I'm looking to do is I need to find the circumference of the circle, and again we're dealing with that same fraction or percentage of the circle. That's 90% of 360 degrees, or 90 degrees out of the 360. So if we remember from the last slide, that ends up being 1/4. So essentially what I'm doing is 1/4, so this fraction of pi times the diameter. In this case, the radius they tell us is 6, so I need to double that to get 12. And then at the end it says we need to go ahead and add 2 radiuses. So we can go plus radius plus radius. And so 1/4 of 12, that's 3, so we're going to have 3 pi. The radius, I should have put in here 6 plus 6, that's 12. And our final answer is 3 pi plus 12. So at this point, I want you guys to go ahead and give it a shot, work with your table group, and try and solve this one. we're finding both the perimeter and the area of the sector. If we look at it, it's 120 degrees. Again, go ahead and hit pause on the video, work through it for a couple minutes, and see where we're at as we compare answers at the end. So if you notice up at the top, I went ahead and wrote the formulas that I can use for this one. 1/20th out of 360 ends up being 12/36 or 1/3, which is what we have up here in both formulas. Again, that fraction will change depending on the portion of the sector we're being asked to solve. So, at this point what I have is, if we take a look, 1/3 pi times the radius squared ends up being 9, so 1/3 of 9 is 3, so the area happens to be 3 pi. In this one I sort of squeezed myself a little bit short of room, but the perimeter is going to be 1/3 pi times diameter plus 2 radii. So if we take a look at that, it's going to be 1/3 pi times the diameter, which happens to be 3 doubled, so 6, plus 2 radiuses, which is 3 plus 3. So I can go ahead and multiply this term. 1/3 of 6 is 2, so the front part of this is 2 pi. And then I need to include the 2 radii at the back, and that's 3 plus 3 or 6. So I end up with 2 pi plus 6. And again, throughout these I forgot labels. I apologize. This should be 6 centimeters. In this one it should be 3 pi centimeters squared. Again, area is always squared. Perimeter is always just a straight line measurement. So hopefully this is enough to get through the assignment. We have the worksheet. Please cross off number 6 and 7 that you'll find on page 47. The rest of it I hope goes well for you. Please work through it. Keep in mind any questions you have you can ask in class on Friday and then again on Monday when I get back.